Hello, everybody. This is What's Up with Giancarlo. We're going over 11.3 today, multiplication and division equations. So, last lesson, 11.2, was addition and subtraction equations. It's basically the same thing as that, only with multiplication and division, obviously. Okay. So to get started, I'm going to go ahead and skip this first page about modeling because we're not going to use models. But just look how they represent things. So Deanna has a cookie recipe that requires 12 eggs to make 3 batches of cookies. How many eggs are needed per batch of cookies? So we know the number of batches are 3, and we multiply that times the number of eggs per batch, and then the total eggs. Okay, so 3 times x equals 12. That's the only thing we're going to look at. All right, using division to solve equations. Everybody pay attention. Separating the tiles on both sides of an equation mat into an equal number of groups, models dividing both sides of an equation by the same number. So they're just going back to the tiles situation in the modeling, okay? But they're just letting you know whatever you do to one side, you have to do to the other. Whenever there's a situation like that, taking away from one side or dividing by one side or whatever, you have to do it to the other side to keep it equal, okay? Like the division property of equality says. Let's start this. This is very important. You can divide both sides of an equation by the same non-zero number and the two sides will remain equal. So listen, class, we cannot divide by 0. It doesn't work, okay? So it has to be a non-zero number, and that will make both sides stay equal. Okay, so inverse, we have to do the inverse. Very, very important. So inverse means opposite. Okay, remember that, please, 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 please. In this module, you guys do the opposite to solve. Whatever is in the equation, you do the opposite to solve it. Okay, when an equation contains multiplication, solve by dividing both sides of the equation by the same non-zero number. So, multiplication in the equation then you go ahead and solve for division. All right, Governor, we got it. Okay, let's look at an example. Or 2 to be exact. So we've got 9a equals 54. So if we're looking at this, we have multiplication in the problem. We have to define the variable. Look at that amazing handwriting. Woo! So we've got 9a equals 54. We have to define the variable, which means we have to get a all alone. Since it is being multiplied, we have to do the opposite, which is division. Okay? So what can I divide it by to get a all alone? 9. So if I divide this side by 9, we have to remember that basically the equal sign is keeping the sides separate. So I'm going to divide 54 by 9, and then I bring my equal sign down here. So 9 divided by 9 is 1. So basically I have 1a or just a. If you guys remember, there is always an imaginary 1 in front of the variables, okay? These don't cross out because it doesn't necessarily equal 0. It just equals 1. So it is 1a or just a, okay? And then we do 54 divided by 9, which gives me 6. So my answer is a equals 6. So we take this 6, we plug it on the number line, and then if we want, we can check. I mean, obviously we're super smart, so we know, but just checking, we take 6 for A, we plug it back into the equation. So 9 times 6 equals 54. That gets the check mark of approval, and bingo bango, we move on to the next one. All right, we've got 18 for letter B. We've got 18 equals 6D. Okay, not 60, 6D. So obviously we have to define the variable. Okay, define the variable, so we have to get the variable all alone. So I'm looking at the 6D, and I'm trying to see, is it multiplication, is it addition, subtraction, division, whatever. They are connected, and there is no sign. Therefore, that means it's multiplication. So I have to do the opposite, and I have to divide to solve for it. So I want the D all alone, so I divide by 6. Remember, the equal sign is separating the sides, so I have to do the same thing over here on this side to this 18. I get 18 divided by 6. I put my equal sign. What is 18 divided by 6? That is 3. What is 6 divided by 6? That's 1, and then D. So I get 3 equals D, and then I plug that back in. 3 times 6 is 18. 18 equals 18. Boom, check mark of approval. Put my 3 on the number line. It's easy. It's so easy, okay? Let's move on to your turn. Solve the equation 3x equals 21. Graph the solution on the number line. Okay, go ahead. I'll wait. All right. So we've got 3x equals 21. The equal sign is separate. I gotta define the variable. So I'm gonna have to, this is multiplication, so I have to divide. I'm dividing by 3 on both sides. 3 divided by 3 is 1. I have, so 1x, or just x, equals 21 divided by 3 is 7. 7 times 3 is 21. Check mark of approval. Bingo bango. Put it on the number line, and we're done. We're done. All right? With this problem. Moving on to the division. Using multiplication to solve equations. When an equation contains division, solve by multiplying both sides of the equation by the same number. So, multiplication property of equality is the same thing as the division property of equality. It's just saying you can multiply both sides of an equation by the same number and the two sides will remain equal. So, we have to do the inverse again. Inverse. Okay? So, when division in the equation what do you think we do? Good job, class. We solve by multiplication. Woo, 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 woo. We solve by multiplication if there is division in the equation. It's the opposite of what's in the equation. So, example 2, solve each equation. Graph the solution on a number line. So, we have x times 5, x divided by 5, sorry. We've got x divided by 5 equals 10. So, we have to define the variable, meaning get it all alone. So, if there's division, I have to multiply to solve. So, class, I'm multiplying this by 5. So, really, I'm going to cross multiply and make that and that a 1 and a 1. So, it's just x over 1. So, it's just x. And then I come to this side and I multiply by 5. Okay? So, what is 5 times 10? 50. Okay? So, 50, I plug it in. 50 divided by 5 equals 10. I can plug it on the number line. I just checked. If you guys want a little more, here it is. I get x over 5 equals 10. Let's look at this a different way. So let's just say it's really 5 over 1, so I multiply them. So I get 5x over 5 equals 10 times 5. So this is going to be 10 times 5 is 50. And then I'm going to divide 5 by 5 and get 1. So I just have x all alone. Okay. So I'm just going to, so now I have, so I've got 15 equals r over 2. So to solve this, I've got to multiply both sides by 2. So easy. Cross multiply the 2 and the 2, they turn into 1. Well, cross simplify. So it's the 2 turns into a 1. The 2 turns into a 1. So I'm just left with r equals, what's 2 times 15? 30. So we plug the 30 in for r. 30 divided by 2 equals 15. Check, 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 check. Boom, did it. Okay? So we plug in our 30 on the number line. It's so easy. It's so easy. Okay? All right, go ahead. Don't worry, I'll wait. All right, so we've got y divided by 9 equals 1. I divide both sides by 9 to get my y all alone. Okay? These turn into 1s, so I have y equals 1 times 9 is 9. 9 divided by 9 equals 1. Bingo, bango, put it in a Durango, as I always say. Well, there it is. I thought you knew. Okay. Okay, using equations to solve problems. You can use equations to solve real-world problems. I'm going to skip over this page because we don't really need it and just go straight into this your turn, okay? So let's do this together. So Roberto is dividing. So we already know dividing, keywords class, dividing his baseball cards equally among himself, his brother, and 3 friends. So I already know he's dividing, and I know there's 5 people. So it's being divided by 5. Roberto was left with 9 cards. He was left with 9 cards. How many cards did Roberto give away? So, do we know how many cards he started off with? No, we do not. So that is my x. So that's my x, and then I'm going to divide it by 5 because himself, his brother, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? And then he was left with 9 cards. So each person got 9 cards because it was equally, and Roberto was left with 9 cards, therefore they all got 9 cards. So to solve this problem, I'm going to have to multiply, since in the problem there is division. So let's multiply by 5 to get my x all alone. The 5s turn into 1s. So now I have x equals, what's 5 times 9? 45. 45, I say. But I've got 45. He kept 9 cards for himself, didn't he? So we're gonna do 45 minus 9, and that gives me 36 cards that he gave away. He did. All right, let's check the answer. So X does not equal 36. X equals 45. And then the amount of cards that he gave away was 36. Okay? So Roberto gave away 36 cards. And that is it for us. All right? So remember, everybody, I'll see you next time. And if you watch this video, you're a part of the class. Hopefully everybody's watching. Bye-bye, everyone.